That's just 1, 2, 3, and 5 in time. Now I'm going to leave a bar out every once in a while just to give it a little bit more space, because this is not far from being improvisational material. In fact, I saw had an interesting time with David Baker. We were talking about Dizzy Gillespie. He said that he was late to Birdland. His band was playing, and Lee Morgan was 16 playing trumpet in the band. And Birdland was a stickler at that club. The guy who owned it, if you were late, you'd get fined. So Dizzy's sneaking in the club. He's late. And Lee Morgan gets on the microphone. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dizzy Gillespie has arrived. Dizzy Gillespie." And he knew he was throwing Dizzy under the bus. Dizzy got to the stand, didn't say a word to Lee, kicked off Lee's feature, which was The Night in Tunisia. And then Dizzy played a solo. He basically was phoning it in. In other words, there was no improvisational, like the skies didn't open and the sun wasn't shining down. Dizzy was playing his back pocket licks, stuff he knew. Okay? Then he made Lee play. After about 2 choruses, Lee got tired and he brought the solo down. And Dizzy said, "No, you keep going. Keep going." "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Lee Morgan." Had him take about 2 more choruses. Then Dizzy said, "Let's trade some 4s, Lee." And then Dizzy traded 4s. By the second chorus of 4s, Dizzy started improvising and let him have it. Dizzy never, ever had to say a word to Lee Morgan about, don't do that again. But what's the lesson? Well, there's a lot of lessons in there. The musical lesson I'm talking about, though, is jazz improvisation is not a God-given thing. I mean, maybe it is, but I've had to rely on techniques, okay? And the techniques we just talked about, even just 1, 2, 3, and 5, work just fine. I'm going to leave some space now to do it every bar. And do you think your kids can mix up 1, 2, 3, and 5? Like, could they go 2, 1, 3, 5?
Sure.
Yeah? After a little bit, like if this is a month down the road of doing 1, 2, 3, 5, it's a 5-minute warm-up on the blues. Let's try it. I'll try it, see if I can mess it up. So I won't play every bar, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I bet some of you thought, oh, he's straight. I went 1, 2, 3, 5. Ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-doo-da. What made it work? The way I delivered it, right? It's like, have you ever seen like somebody, I used to call my father out on this all the time. He would say something and the way he would deliver it, like it was so profound. Man, you're not saying anything, Dad. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 5. See how well you guys are swinging? Yeah, guys. Now, heaven forbid we do that in jazz band for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or wind ensemble or marching band, or any band you have. The point is, it's not about the musical genre, it's about this
Using
call and response. And subconsciously, yeah, I speak your language, and I'm getting it. I have an 11-month-old baby. He thinks he's talking away. Right on, Django. He's like, la, 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 la. Yeah, man, I hear you. That's exactly right. But he wants to engage at the dinner table thing, aside from the rhythm that I should have written down, is that quoting the melody in a solo is valid. If you look at Joe Oliver and Buddy Bolden, we don't know how Buddy Bolden sounded. We could just go by references, written down references. But we know for sure Joe Oliver and Louis Armstrong, 3 of the first, and Sidney Bechet. Bechet a little bit less. He was a real virtuoso. He was all over the saxophone, clarinet. But these guys based their improvisations around the melody. Let's just play the tune down once. It's A form, and I challenge you, just like I would expect you to challenge your students. Hey, can you tell where the bridge is? Can you tell where the A sections are? If everybody doesn't get it the first time, hey, no big deal. You know, we call it teaching for a reason. You know, we're here to teach. Let's do it, guys. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's the melody. Well, let's look at the scalar approach. For scales, I've got 2 different scales listed. I've got minor scales and major scales that are part of what we would refer to as just simply conventional scales. The scales that are a bit unconventional we call bebop scales, but that's a misnomer. They're not scales that were invented by bebop musicians or jazz musicians. They've been in use for a long time. I mean, I've seen these scales happen in Bach all the time, in Mozart, and the flute concerto in C major. I remember when I was playing that. It's, oh wow, there's a bebop scale. Well, what a bebop scale is, ladies and gentlemen, is it's just a hybrid of a pre-existing scale, be it major, mixolydian, or minor, with an added half step. If you look at the handout, or someone can share with you if you don't have one, the first bebop scale that I have listed is example 2. It's the, actually it's both example 1 and example 2. It's the E-flat bebop major scale. If you look at that, it's an E-flat scale with a B natural and a B flat in it. In other words, there's a half step between the C and the B flat of the E-flat major scale. We played that a minute ago. The purpose of the bebop major scale, adding that half step, is to keep chord tones on the downbeat. Remember when I said Gunther Schuller said that jazz is a democracy of all 8/8 notes in 4/4 time? The ear still hears the downbeats, even though we're accenting the upbeats. The ear hears the downbeats. And as horn players, or anybody playing single note lines, if you're playing chord tones on downbeats, there's a much better chance that the chord will sound. Check it out. Here's an E-flat major scale, as we all know it, against the E-flat major chord. Just play swing E-flat major. And I'm going to repeatedly play the E-flat major scale. 1, 2, 3. And that's the logical thing that we've all been taught. I was taught when I was a kid. Well, major chord, play a major scale. Well, that's inappropriate. It's completely wrong. It is. First off, what note doesn't work on there? The 4th. Play an E-flat major chord, Barry. How's this sound? Play that again. That's a little bit more comfortable, isn't it? Well, that was actually a sharp 4. So the major scale doesn't really work so well on the major chord because that 4th scale degree, the A-flat, does not sound good. Okay? Especially if you hang out on the downbeat. Now, I'm not trying to rewrite music theory here. Although Gunther Schuller, George Russell, in the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization, does say that the major chord is derived from the Lydian scale, not the major scale. You guys could hear it. I could see everybody's head went like that. It's different, isn't it? All that's different is the chord tones that are happening on downbeats. The ear hears those down 2 things. Now the last chord that's in this song is a dominant chord. It's a B-flat 7th, B-flat mixolydian. Here's B-flat mixolydian against the B-flat 7th. Yeah, on B-flat 7th. 1, 2, 3. Now, if we had a half step between the root and the dominant 7, which is a wrong note, technically, but it's a chromatic tone that keeps chord tones happening on downbeats. Pair layout. Me and Richard, watch this. You're going to be able to hear the chord changes, and I'm just going to play that scale. Let's play. Let's just play E-flat blues. E-flat blues. E-flat blues. And I'm going to play just those mixolydian scales with that added half step. We call it a 7th scale. And all it's going to do is keep chord tones on the downbeat. Without a harmonic instrument, you're still going to be able to hear the chords. It's actually like second species counterpoint of Bach. Two-part invention. 1, we said E-flat? 1, 2, 3. You hear the chord changes? First time I heard that was this great Sonny Rollins, like major scales, or bebop major scales, or minor scales. Now let's start applying it. Again, I know this isn't going to be for everybody. 10 minutes? This isn't going to be for everybody right away, but it's going to be for the students that you have that are taking solos, that are ambitious about it and want to, and you want to empower them with logical solo ideas. So here it is. Let me just use, let's play a chorus. Just keep playing the chorus, guys, and I'll stop and just tell what I'm doing. Okay. So I'll start with just playing September in the Rain using 1, 2, 3, 5, or a variance of that. So any permutation of 1, 2, 3, ready? 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 2, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3. Get it? Cool. Yep. 1. Everybody can do 1, 2, 3, 5 on a chord. It's not a big deal. 1, 2, 1, 2, big. 1, 2, 3, 5. I fudged on one thing, I'm sorry. But one little phrase, but the rest of that was all 1, 2, 3, 5. Could you guys hear it? Mm-hmm. If you walked into the room, don't tell me a lie. Would you have been like, oh man, Rupert's jiving, he's just playing 1, 2, 3, 5. No, right? Well, what made it good? What made it, well, acceptable. Let's not say good. Acceptable. The swing, right? I was in the pocket. I was in the pocket. Well, you can't tell someone how to swing. You have to do it with them. And we can do it much slower. I'm speeding through because we have time constraints. This is something slow. And learning September in the Rain, that might be baby steps. That might be for a semester for a whole group. But it could be for one student. Hey, let's work on this together. Let's jam. Boo-ba-doo-da. Now, other chord tones. Sorry that I'm breezing through this, and I know we could spend an hour just on that. But all I'm doing is arpeggiating things you already know. 1, 3, 5, and 7 of a chord. Major, minor, or dominant. Then I also did a half-step pickup. Did you guys catch some of those half-step pickups? Aren't they great? You're totally out of the chord with a half-step pickup. It's on an upbeat. The ear isn't hearing that as a downbeat. It's a no-brainer. On a downbeat, you're hitting a chord tone. This isn't that complex. We can all do this, and our kids can do it faster than we can. 3rd, 5th, or 7th, up or down. That might seem complex right now, but again, if we start from root, do that for a while, do thirds for a while, and even if we do it on one chord, that Shelley Bird Chop Monster CD is great because we'll have one chord for like a minute. Whole track just on major chords. Whole track on minor. Great. Okay, so with half-step pickups or arpeggios, are we together? Got it? Yep. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Don't worry about that with regard to the arpeggios. The arpeggios can just be 1, 3, 5, and 7. They're written down, and I've written them down from different chord tones to give you an idea. The next concept that we can never forget about in jazz is the blues. Now the blues, like garlic and cayenne pepper, can be abused. But at the right time is essential. The difference between jazz musicians and blues musicians is jazz musicians play the blues musicians don't play jazz. That's kind of a stereotype. But what I'm getting at is, you talk to anybody who knew Charlie Parker, well, the guys I talked to knew Charlie Parker. Slide Hampton, we were having a chat. He goes, most ferocious blues player I ever heard in my life. Wasn't talking about, oh, he plays the upper extensions of the chord well. Another guy said, man, no one had rhythm like Charlie Parker. Check this out on YouTube. Charlie Parker playing Cherokee in 1943. It's a do-it-yourself recording. It's called Vic Damone's Studio, but it was really like a karaoke thing. Well, not karaoke thing, like a do-it-yourself studio. He goes in with a guitar player and a drummer playing brushes. They play Cherokee. He's just figured it out. He's about 18, 19 years old, and he's got it. And he's burning, and he's ferocious with the rhythm. His ideas are transparent. There's nothing elusive about it. And he's got this blues feeling up inside it. Now, what I mean is, you all have heard the blues scale, and I even wrote it out. But the blues scale on the home tonality of a piece, the blues sound, can be employed at any time. Even though the notes of the blues, like an E-flat blues scale, has a G-flat in it, an A-flat, which we said was kind of suspect anyway, and an A natural, and then a D-flat. But E-flat major doesn't have any D-flats. E-flat major has a D natural. But check it out. The A section will end on an E-flat chord. Let's just do it for model when we get to the 7th bar. Forget it. Let's just play the form. We'll play it. And on that major chord, I'm going to play the blues. Check it out. And I'll do it on the first chord, too, because the blues scale. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, whoa. I got to transpose, too. Sorry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the blues. So that's employing the blues on any tune. Even if it's major, you can still have that blues sound. I opine that, you got to have a little garlic if you're making, some grilled asparagus. It just isn't right without garlic. How you are listening. That tune list is valuable. And here's a solo. I challenge you guys to have your class learn a song and sing the solo. And you do the same. Let me give you a couple solos. Miles Davis' solo on So What.
So What. Greatest.
That are jazz. If you like, if you're more comfortable, this is one of my favorite solos. Lester Young's solo with Count Basie between 1936 and 40. It's available on Rhapsody readily. Shoeshine Boys or Lester Leaps In. These are great classic solos. Lady Be Good. Those 3 Lester Young solos. Say, hey class, we're going to sing the first 8 bars of these solos next week. We're going to sing them. My buddy Mike Wilkinson, who took over jazz theory for me at UCF, he's our jazz trombone teacher. He has students do that all the time in the jazz theory class. Here's another solo. Hank Mobley. If you like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, there's a great record called Live at Cafe Bohemia, Volume 1. There's a piece called Soft Winds. Hank Mobley plays the solo on Soft Winds, which is basically a blues that is so lyrical, you'd think he was reading it off the page. That's the way Hank Mobley plays chord changes. But you get these kids and yourselves to sing, he plays about 8 courses. It's a slow blues. You sing 1 course, and your jazz playing will increase tenfold. I I couldn't stress that more. And it's not scary, it's fun. You know, I had a student win when I used to teach classical saxophone, the Glazunov saxophone concerto. The way I had him win the competition, it was a concerto competition, I took the music away from him. After he kind of had it about 80%, I took the music away. And it was very dramatic. You can't have it anymore. I gave him a famous recording. I said, now you've got to learn it off the record. And he did it off the record, played it exactly like the record one time.